Hey everybody, welcome back to one of our podcast shows here today. We have a very, very special guest. He is a comedian, he's an entrepreneur, soon to be husband, no pressure, right? But today we're so glad you joined us, and we're going to get started here with a very distinguished guest, Mr. Fernando Gonzalez with 2 Z's. And he was just playing with me before we started this. I said, do you go with 2 Z's or 2 S's? And he says, no, he goes, I'm with Z. The S's are from Mexico and from Z is from Tijuana. And the Z is from Cancun. I'm like, oh, really? And he says, no. So he's a total comedian. Just like the difference between Shin and Chin. Shin is from South Korea for the S, and Chin is for Chinese, you know. But that's not true either. We're just making things up. But anyway, gosh, thank you so much, you guys. Fernando. Where do we start, brother? Let's start with your background. Let's tell everybody a little bit about you and what, you know, your background is or was. What's your past? How did you become successful to where you are today? Because I don't think you were born a wealthy man or a very successful individual. So tell us a little bit about your background.
You know what? I was born in East Los Angeles Doctors Hospital.
Wait, you said it was in Cancun. No, I'm just kidding.
I was born, but my dad was from Cancun.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, so East LA, right?
Yes, and we grew up in the suburbs of East LA, and we networked with our families in that environment. We grew up very humbled, and it's a scarce mentality, always making ends meet and just fighting forward. With my dad was a hard worker, and he still is. And he's the first immigrant from Mexico here, just showing us the way, giving us a better future. And with that said, I got the work ethic from my father and a strong back from my mother. And this combination of have allowed me to be fruitful in business and in life. Of course, there's up and downs and everything I've got into, because not everybody sees the positive side of things, but do they see the froth when it's those tough moments you're fighting up the scale, right? So that's basically where I was born in. But a little bit about myself, I put myself through college, and I went through Cerritos College, then went to a school of business at Fullerton, working 2 jobs in accounting, and basically just wanting to just be more. And I tried entrepreneurship, and I failed miserably many times, but I did it on the scratch, and I wanted to learn from school to teach me the books. But they didn't teach me everything that goes on the back end. So with that said, I got involved later on in my career in real estate and mortgages. And I was successful in those arenas because I was coachable to my mentors that I always call a mentor in an arena that I really wanted to make a difference. And that was back in the early 90s.
Sure.
Yes.
So you got into sales or independent, like an independent contractor, being a real estate person in mortgage. So how did that feel, or what allowed you to overcome that obstacle? Because like most people want a guaranteed paycheck, right? They want that constant income coming in. And yet you went from, okay, I'm going to forfeit the guaranteed income and go into real estate and mortgage. There's no set guarantees. It's based on your own efforts and your productivity.
Yes.
So how do you overcome that fear of not having that constant, fear of not making a sale or bringing in cash flow and learning how to pay your bills and know how to balance your money? So that, if there was a down, maybe you didn't have any down months. Maybe you just crushed it every single month and you had money. But how do you overcome that fear of forfeiting the guaranteed salary mentality?
I see my father being a wage earner, a laborer. And one day he didn't have a job. And there's 3 little ones. And I was about 19 years old, and we were about to lose our house. And my dad says, I need help. So instead of going to school full time, I went to work full time. And I put school full time so we can qualify for a home in Fontana back in 91, I believe, 1991. And they moved out and had a nice restart. I stayed in Los Angeles at an age of 19, and I've been on my own since. And it wasn't easy because a young man learning to be head of the household, going to school, and learning survival. There wasn't cell phones back then, right? So it was just against the wall all the time. And I've had many falls, but I always get back up, and I find leadership and I look for mentorship. And it wasn't always easy. It took years sometimes to do it. Failing forward has been a lesson of my past.
So how did you, know that? I mean, I could tell you were very independent, at the young age of 19. I mean, so 19-year-olds will say that they're 50-year-olds, right? But 19 is still young. I mean, I've got a 23-year-old, and I still treat him like, I don't treat him like a baby, but I mean, to me, he's still a young kid to me, But how do you overcome not going and getting a job? Were there months that you didn't have income, being independent?
Absolutely. I put myself through school. I got student loans, and I actually got involved with my dad's business and furniture. So he's a lathe operator and wood tradesman by trade. And I would sell while I was at work doing accounting, going to school. I would go help him sand the stuff, the wood, and then I'll help him sell it so he could pay his mortgage. Right? And I see my dad trying to be an entrepreneur, but he was more of a sole proprietor. And I would do a lot of this work for free just so he can make it. And then I see there was a space for me to help him and me and pay my school. And also there's days I didn't really have a lot of food. So that's $5 back then. I'll try to make it for 3, 4, 5 days. And I'll eat a $1 Whopper at the time, right? And it'll fill me up for the day. And then drank a lot of water and I ran a lot so I would stay skinny. And, it was against the wall all the time to try to help my family be the best version of themselves, the trials. My dad constantly trying to be out there an entrepreneur. But I started selling furniture on the side. And I would tell people, hey, I have a factory and, we make furniture, and I associated myself with them, bought a truck, and I started delivering on the weekends. And I became very successful doing that. And there was up and downs, and I just was really hungry in the need. And when you're in the need, you'd be surprised what you're capable of as a human being.
So why not a guaranteed job?
I don't believe that my dad came to this country for me to settle for less. And nothing wrong with the job, but he says, son, you could put yourself through anything, and you will make mistakes in life. There isn't a man that hasn't made one. As long as you do the right thing by people, you're going to win forward. You're going to find mentorship. I didn't have the privilege of the education you can have, and I want you to have it. He's always been my strongest ally. And today he tours with me, and you've seen him. So that's my face is when I see my dad's face, and he's getting older, that I'm able to take care of him today. And to work, job, I wouldn't be able to take care of my dad. He had surgery last week. I took care of him all week, and I had the privilege to work on his health. And he had a lot of certain setbacks, and I was able to be there with him all along the way. And that journey, if I was have a job, it wouldn't give me that freedom to spend time with my father, because time, you can't take time back. And I fight for time and freedom with people I want to be around. I choose and I invest my time with.
Right.
It's precious. Tomorrow is not guaranteed to anybody. So every moment I try to joke around, even though it's tough times, it gets me through the challenges. And it's my dad is a mirror how he always wins in life, despite the challenges, and I just mirror him a lot of times.
Yeah, freedom is definitely priceless, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, how much does it cost for freedom,
It's priceless, buddy.
Yeah. So you've become a very successful entrepreneur of yourself. You've got offices in multiple locations now. What do you attribute that to? Do you think it's just you? Is it your people? Is it your organization? What do you attribute your success to?
I've had I've been working since I was 6, 7 years old. I was cleaning the neighbor's house. I didn't have air conditioning. There was 9 of us in 2-3 bedroom house, 1 bathroom. And, my grandmother got sick, and my mother had to take care of her mother at a young age at 52. And my mom had children and a mother that she had to take care of in the early 50s as a child herself, right? She had brain surgery. And I knew that I was limited. I was limited to the things that I couldn't have when other kids had the right Converse, and I had the invitation Converse, the invitation Vans. I had invitation Vans, they had the right Vans. And one kid walked up to me in school and said, "Hey, why doesn't your shoe have a star?" And I said, and I realized that it didn't have a star because they were invitation. And that stuck by me, a burning desire to win in life, to be able to take care of anybody around me that I love. And since then, I've been working odd jobs and just try to be the best at what I do, so I can succeed in environments that are not promising.
What do you think? So, what are some key ingredients you think in people that you look for? to bring onto your team?
Integrity. Okay. That I can leave you with $10,000 and my girl, and you don't want to take either one of them or both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be surprised that someone will do it for free, But the thing is, I look for integrity. I look for loyalty, and I look for a good attitude. Attitude is everything to me. I can work with the rest. You're smart, but you have a bad attitude. You and I are not a good mix. Because I know once we're in the ditch against bad times, because not everything's always up, I want to know who I'm next to. That you're not going to stab me behind my back or run off when I'm in the hole. And that's, that I look for people with strong backbones that have great people that like to help the community.
Sure. So now you have you're in the financial industry.
That's correct.
And what makes your financial company different than everyone else in the industry?
We focus a lot on self-development, and then and the ingredient of what makes a person move. And once, for example, I had an interview this morning. Engineer, and the general engineer says, well, he starts getting real technical, and I says, he wanted a breakdown. And I said, before we break anything down, I just want to know you have a great attitude, number one. And I want to know if you're willing to be coachable, even though it is foreign to you. And he looked at me, because you're going to have challenges, and the news going to seem weird, and it's not going to be welcoming. Because you're programmed a certain way and designed for so long that the new is actually scary, and fear is false evidence appearing real. So I look for someone that is willing to go through those fears and barriers. And right there and then, whether he's ready or not, we either get a future date to talk again. But I want to know that we're going to be in the long run here together. And if he's in doubt, we don't need to match up. Our time's too valuable to waste. And I look for that.
Now, what drives you? What's your major driver? Because, I've seen your work ethics. You work like there's no tomorrow. Like, you max out every single day. Like my buddy Ed Milet's got this quote called "max out," right? And you certainly max out your day every single day. I've seen you drive in the storms to get to a meeting or to an appointment. Your car could be broke down on the side of the road, and that doesn't stop you. You find ways to get to your next destination. You bring your father up just to get into the carpool as a carpool mate so you can get to certain places. You're just a workhorse. So what drives Fernando Gonzalez?
To be the best version of myself, so who those are around me, I can make their lives better, even if I give them a smile. And what really drives me are my whys. And I choose to give Adriana, my father, my unborn children, the best future that they can have, morally, ethically, and logistically, so we know where we're going. And I just believe that when that one kid told me one day, why do you have those invitation shoes in front of all the kids? And it drove me to that day that I will do what it takes so that I never, and I'm not in a position to not give the best to my family and to my team and to you.
So that's your main driver, huh?
My driver, but I'm going to add, I want to help one of the main drivers is to take care of my parents, give them the best. And I'm having the ability to do that so far, and give Adriana the best, give my team. I choose not to fail. It's not an option.
And so, have you ever had failures in your business?
Absolutely.
What was your biggest failure, you think, in your business?
In my business?
Or life, for that matter.
Man, I've had a couple.
Okay.
When I ruptured my Achilles and constructed my leg, I blew out my Achilles and I was not mobile. It's when I was introduced to yourself. And I was a top producer in real estate and mortgages. And I'm a workhorse. But God had a weird way of saying, hey, I'm going to slow you down. He blew up my Achilles. I woke up with a cast on my hip. My brother-in-law was dying. My grandmother was dying. My mother had an accident. I was watching all of it while I was on medication, and I couldn't help him. In the process, we lost everything. because I didn't protect them accordingly the way I should have, because I didn't look into it. And that was one of the guilts that I had, like say, man, I wasn't able there to service my family when I was upside down. That really took a lot out of me. And it took a long time to get better.
So how did you overcome that? So you're at the very bottom.
Absolutely.
You feel quasi-helpless, right? Just physically, you're just mentally, emotionally now. You're seeing all these things with the people you care about the most, right? I mean, it's your family, and you just said that your family is your primary drive. How did you get out of that? There's so many people suffering from that. They've got illness. They're just, people always say, well, nothing's ever going to happen to me. Like, I'm never going to get sick. I'll never get in an accident. And suddenly it does. And it's like this, it's like the whole world comes to a stop. And you go, how do I get myself out of this situation? And so how do you even remember how you got out of that?
I do. One of the times I was in a wheelchair, and I was on a cast because to here my leg was just pointed forward, and my foot was forward because it blew up. It didn't tear. There was no Achilles anymore. They had to repackage it and rewind it, and it was. I was a runner. I used to run a lot, and I needed to help my mother, and help my sister, and help my father, and I couldn't. And then one of the things I said to myself, I will never be in this situation again. So I'm going to design and reset my mind to not be transactional in business, to have residual income, to be a difference. And I just lived by that since then, because you're making $250,000, $500,000, whatever, and all of a sudden you're making $20,000 a year because you're upside down. You can't get out of bed. You can't go anywhere. You can't even go to appointments. You can't even make calls because your medication is very painful. So I said, I will never be in this position again, even if I'm homeless again, right? And I was that much to being homeless because I was just down. I couldn't get better on time, right? And if you'd ever had a serious injury, it plays with your mind and soul because you have to reinvent yourself. And that was the best thing that can happen because I was open to reinvent Fernando. To find new leadership and new roles in life, and who else I can elevate. So I was designing Fernando to be the best version in mentally, physically, spiritually. So I got coaches, and they told me to do it, and I did it whether I liked it or not because that was good for me.
Now, what's your plans for the next 3, 4, 5 years? I am sure that Fernando has big plans. What are your plans? What are you focusing on now?
I'm focusing on many things. One of them is reestablishing and growing in the Los Angeles area and in San Diego, getting married, starting a family, and being a leader that doesn't just want the best for people, that expects the best for people, right? Why? Because when you set the standards high, they got to rise. If you drop them, then you're just being dropped back down. That's what I'm looking for, being wealthy. And I'm thinking right now because being wealthy is different to everybody else. Well, it isn't always being about money, right? Wealth is I want to have a strong mindset, a strong heart, a strong backbone. Work on consistently on my attitude. And those things help me be a better person, and I want to be a distributor of that to everybody around me, especially my family and the team and you. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your success, Fernando. Congratulations on this new marriage, family that it's about to come together soon. Am I right? Yeah.
We're going to leave that surprise.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm putting pressure on you.
Absolutely.
Doing it on a national podcast here that the world's going to see, that the Think and Grow Rich family or community is going to see.
Absolutely.
I'm so delighted to have you here in our studio today. And again, I want to thank every one of you to continuing to watch our podcast and supporting us. We hope that we're bringing you tremendous value. If there's something that you want to know about your business or your personal life, some area, let us know. Just put a little comment down below, and we'll find somebody, an expert, to come in and give you some guidance and support. But I also want you to follow Fernando Gonzalez over here with 2 Z's, that he can inspire you, encourage you, and continue to motivate you in some capacity. This guy's an amazing guy. What a great example of the Latin, Hispanic, American community. So please reach out to Fernando, and thank you very much for being with us today. Hey, if you could also do us a favor and just like and subscribe to this YouTube or podcast show, and make sure that you follow us on our next wonderful episode.